Hello and welcome back to Attiny85. In this video, I'm going to show you to make a very safe candlelight flame with using an Attiny85 microcontroller, and this device can be very useful to use inside of your jack-o'-lanterns. Let's get started. And these are the items that you're going to need to make for this project. The items you're going to need is a 3-volt button cell battery, 3-volt button cell battery holder, a push button lock switch, a Perfboard, an 8-pin IC socket holder, an Attiny85 microcontroller, 3 LEDs, 2 reds, 1 yellow, and you're going to need some wires. Now let's go ahead and assemble this project and let's get started. First, I'm going to start with the IC socket holder and place it on the end of the Perfboard, just like this. Next, I'm going to wet my soldering iron with some solder, press down on the IC socket holder, and then place the molten solder directly onto one of the pins of the IC socket holder. Doing this will make the IC socket holder flush with the board. And now, solder in the rest of the pins in place. There we go, just like this. Next, I'm going to take the push button lock switch and place it right next to pin 8 of the IC socket holder. Solder it into place. And now solder bridge it to pin 8. Next, I'm going to take the 3-volt button cell battery holder and place the positive terminal near the push button lock switch. Solder it into place. Next, I'm going to take this negative wire and solder the negative terminal of the battery holder over to pin 4. Solder to negative. And now solder over to pin 4, which is the common ground. Next, I'm going to take this positive wire and solder it to the positive terminal of the 3-volt button cell battery and incorrectly solder it to the push button lock switch. You'll see later in this video that I realized this mistake, and you'll see that I'll correct it. Next, I'm going to take these 3 LEDs and solder it into place. And what I want to do first is solder tin these leads that's on this perf board. Each lead of the LED will connect to its own solder point. And now solder in the LEDs into place, and as you can see, I'm going to place each LED and face them all in the same orientation. Whereas anode, cathode, anode, cathode, anode, cathode, where they all look just like this. Next, I'm going to take these positive wires and solder it to each anode of the LED, and each anode will connect to its own pin of the Attiny, which will connect to pin 5, 6, and 7. Solder the wires into place, just like this. There we go. And now take the first anode and connect it to pin 7. Bend over the lead. Solder it into place and solder bridge it to pin 7. And now repeat the same process with pin 6. And again, the same thing with pin 5. Next, I'm going to take this negative wire and solder in the first 2 cathodes. There we go, the first 2 cathodes are now soldered. And now repeat the same process with the second negative wire to connect the rest of the cathodes together. There we go, should look just like this. Next, I'm going to solder tin one of the cathode leads of the LEDs, take a negative wire, solder it to it, and now solder it to pin 4, which now all 3 of the LEDs are now grounded. And finally, take the Attiny85 microcontroller and place it into the IC socket holder. And now take the 3-volt button cell battery and place it into the battery holder. And there, as you can see, the circuit works. And now you can see that I realized my problem. Pushing on the switch, it does nothing. That's because I made a mistake. And the mistake was taking the positive wire from the 3-volt button cell battery holder and connecting it directly to pin 8. It needed to go into the opposite side of the switch. Fix it up, and this is now how it's supposed to look. Push the button, it turns on. Push the button, it turns off. And there, it's supposed to look just like this. Next, what I need to do is modify this Perfboard to make the bottom of the Perfboard spiky so that way it can stick into the pumpkin better. So what I'm going to do is just cut it just like this, break off this piece, and now cut off these corners to make these sides spiky. There, nice and spiky, which means now it can stick into the pumpkin, just like that. And as you can see, I carved out a very simple jack-o'-lantern, and now I'm ready to complete the project by taking my circuit and placing it inside. Place it inside, just like this, and as you can see, it sticks inside the pumpkin. Now, let's see how this looks in the dark. Close the lid, and turn off the lights. Ooh, a very spooky jack-o'-lantern, and as you can see, using my circuit, it's nice and safe. Instead of using a dangerous candle flame, you can just use an LED candle flame, which is a lot safer and a lot nicer, and easier and longer lasting. And there you have it. Now you know how to make your very own Attiny85 safe candle flame for a jack-o'-lantern with using a few simple parts. And there you have it. Thank you for watching SciTech Tech. I hope you learned something new, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course click on the bell icon to be notified for future SciTech Tech videos. Till the next tech, goodbye.